That night at Sunset Lounge, I thought I was untouchable. The music was loud, the lights were low, and every glance that passed my way felt like proof that I was winning at life. I had the body, the job, the confidence, everything people said they wanted. I walked into that bar believing I owned the room. But I didn't know then that sometimes the fall comes right after the spotlight hits you the brightest. It only took 10 seconds to lose more than just a fight. I lost the version of myself I thought was strong. The one that fed on attention, that confused pride with power, and cruelty with confidence. And it all started with one careless moment. One sentence spoken too loud, meant to humiliate someone who didn't deserve it. You see, arrogance doesn't announce itself as a flaw. It disguises as certainty, as self-assurance, as the belief that you're better, smarter, stronger. That night, I wore arrogance like a crown, and it became the heaviest thing I've ever had to carry. I still remember the smell of citrus and alcohol, the hum of bass vibrating through my chest, and my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. A woman who thought she was in control. I didn't realize I was seconds away from losing control completely. It's funny, isn't it? How you can train your body for years, sculpt every muscle, master every move, and yet still be defeated by something invisible. Your ego. That night, I picked the wrong target for my own insecurities. A woman I underestimated. A stranger who would change everything I knew about strength, respect, and humility. If I could go back, I'd tell that version of me to stop. To sit down. To stay quiet. But life doesn't offer do-overs, only lessons. And mine came hard, public, and humiliating. This is the story of how arrogance destroyed everything I built, and how losing it all was the only way I finally learned what real strength means. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. The air inside Sunset Lounge was thick with perfume, alcohol, and the pulse of the music. Neon lights flickered across mirrored walls, painting everyone in shades of violet and blue. The bass hit deep. You didn't just hear it, you felt it in your chest. Miami nights had a way of making you feel alive, and that evening I felt invincible. Ethan walked beside me, tall and polished in his gray blazer, his hand resting possessively on the small of my back. We were the kind of couple that drew attention, him the confident real estate mogul, me the fitness trainer with a body sculpted from discipline and ego. I liked that people looked at us. I liked the whispers, the small envy in their eyes. It fed me. We slid into the bar, ordered our usual. His whiskey neat, my skinny margarita. I caught my reflection in the back mirror. Blonde waves falling over my shoulders, red dress hugging my curves, posture straight, chin high. I looked untouchable. Then I noticed her. A woman sitting alone at the far end of the counter, sipping what looked like lemonade. She wore jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and no makeup. Her hair was tied into a loose bun, a few strands framing her calm, unreadable face. She didn't belong there. Not among the glitter and noise, not under the laser lights bouncing off crystal glasses. Ethan, I nudged, tilting my chin toward her. Check out Miss Modesty over there. Did she take a wrong turn from the library? He chuckled, swirling his drink. Maybe she's waiting for someone. Yeah, I smirked. Probably waiting for her book club. It should have stopped there. But I was restless, the kind of restless that comes from needing to prove something when there's nothing left to prove. I wanted the room to laugh with me. I wanted to feel powerful. So I stood up, glass in hand, and walked toward her. The crowd parted slightly, curious. Hey, sweetheart, I said, loud enough for a few heads to turn. You know this is a bar, right? Not a juice stand. A faint smile touched her lips. I'm aware, she said softly. Her voice was calm, unshaken. I just don't drink. That composure, that quiet, it irritated me. Well, maybe you should. Loosen up a little. People might stop mistaking you for the staff. A few nearby laughs echoed. My ego purred. But then she looked me straight in the eye. You don't have to do this, she said. It's not going to make you feel better. Something about her tone, gentle, not defensive, made my blood boil. I leaned closer, smirking. Feel better? Oh honey, I feel fantastic. I reached for her glass and tapped it on the counter a bit too hard, spilling some of the lemonade. Oops. Guess I'm stronger than I thought. Ethan's laugh came from behind me, and that laugh pushed me further. I gave her a light shove on the shoulder. Playful, I told myself, but it wasn't. She stood up, shorter than me, but her stance changed everything. Her feet shifted, shoulders relaxed, and suddenly she didn't look small at all. I really don't want to hurt you, she said quietly. The crowd around us hushed, phone subtly lifting. I rolled my eyes, spreading my arms. Oh please. You gonna lecture me to death? Then in a blink she moved. Her hand gripped my wrist, her body pivoted, and the world spun. My back hit the floor before I even realized what happened. The impact wasn't hard, but it was humiliating. Gasps filled the air, followed by a few stifled laughs. Ava, I didn't know her name then, stepped back, composed as ever. She bent down, picked up her glass, and placed it in front of me. You don't have to be like this, she said again. Her voice wasn't mocking. It was almost sad. And then she walked away. For a long second, the entire bar stayed silent. Then someone snickered. Another laughed. And just like that, the laughter spread, sharp, merciless, echoing off the walls. Ethan stepped back, pretending he didn't know me. And I sat there on the sticky floor of Sunset Lounge, my red dress rumpled, my pride shattered, feeling for the first time in years small. By Monday morning, the internet had already done its thing. The video of me getting thrown onto the neon-lit floor of Sunset Lounge spread faster than wildfire. Someone had captured every second, my confident smirk, Ava's calm posture, and the exact moment she flipped me like I was made of air. The caption read, "When arrogance meets skill skull." 3 million views in less than 24 hours. The comments were brutal. That's what happens when muscles don't come with manners. Guess all those gym hours didn't train her ego. Respect the quiet ones. They know real discipline. Every refresh felt like another slap. My DMs were flooded. Sponsors asking if I was okay. They weren't really asking. Fitness pages turning me into memes. Even my so-called friends sent messages that sounded more curious than concerned. By the time I walked into Iron Temple Gym, everyone already knew. Conversations stopped when I passed. Whispers floated like dust behind me. At the front desk, Olivia, my manager, tried to soften her expression. Hey Soph, she started carefully. We might need to step back from the brand collab this month. Just until things cool down. I laughed, sharp and defensive. Cool down? Olivia, it was one mistake. She sighed. It's not about the fight, Sophia. It's about what people saw. The attitude. The arrogance. Clients don't want drama. They want discipline. Her words stung because they were true. I had spent years building a reputation as a confident, fearless woman in the fitness world. But confidence had quietly turned into something uglier, something that looked like superiority. When I got home that night, Ethan was packing. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just said quietly, I tried to tell you, sophomore. Not every battle needs to be fought. I'm tired of being with someone who always needs to win. He closed the door, and the sound felt heavier than Ava's throw. At first, I drowned my shame and anger. I scrolled through Ava Mitchell's social media. Her calm smile, her posts about discipline, kindness, and balance. Thousands of supportive comments. She was suddenly an online darling, while I became the cocky gym girl who got what she deserved. So I fought back the only way I knew how. I started posting cryptic stories, mocking her philosophy, calling her fake. I convinced myself she had embarrassed me on purpose. What I didn't realize then was that every post, every angry word, was another step down the road of self-destruction. The world had already moved on, but I hadn't. And that obsession was about to cost me far more than a reputation. 2 weeks later, I found myself standing outside Harmony Dojo, the same name I had seen printed under Ava's viral post. The glass walls were fogged slightly from the heat of training inside. My reflection stared back at me. Tight ponytail, hoodie pulled over my gym tank, jaw clenched like I was about to walk into battle. I told myself I was there to learn, but that was a lie. I wanted revenge. I wanted to humiliate her the same way she had humiliated me. Inside, the air smelled faintly of sweat, wood polish, and quiet discipline. There was no blaring EDM, no mirrors, no vanity lighting. Just soft mats, rhythmic breathing, and a kind of peace that irritated me. Ava stood at the center, demonstrating a throw to her students, most of them half my size, all watching her with full attention. She moved like water. Smooth, grounded, completely in control. When she noticed me, she smiled, polite but distant. "Sophia, right? I heard you might stop by. Would you like to join the session?" Her calmness infuriated me. "Sure," I said flatly. "Let's see what you've got when the cameras aren't rolling." The room went quiet. A few students exchanged nervous glances, sensing the tension. Ava didn't react. She just gestured for space to be cleared and said softly, "This isn't about proving anything. It's about learning to control yourself." "Yeah," I smirked. "Guess I'll control you instead." The training challenge began. I lunged first, using speed and brute strength, my comfort zone. She barely moved. Every time I attacked, she deflected with minimal effort, redirecting my energy instead of resisting it. Within seconds, I was panting, frustrated, swinging harder. Then it happened. A clean sweep, a twist, and I was on the mat again, pinned, immobilized, staring up at the fluorescent ceiling. My breath caught in my throat as the students clapped politely. Ava stepped back and offered me her hand. "You're strong," she said quietly. "But strength without humility is just chaos." Someone recorded it, of course. The second video went viral overnight. The caption read, "Respect is the foundation of martial arts." It hurt worse than the first one, because this time there was no arrogance to hide behind, just silence and shame. The comments didn't mock me anymore. They pitied me. "She still hasn't learned." You can't fight someone who's at peace with themselves. Pain is a teacher, if you're willing to listen. For the first time in years, I had no comeback, no defense. My anger dissolved into something colder, despair. I realized that I wasn't fighting Ava anymore. I was fighting my own reflection, the version of myself that needed validation, applause, and control. That night, I didn't post anything. I didn't even look at my phone. I just sat in my empty apartment, the quiet buzzing in my ears, thinking about the moment she offered me her hand. It wasn't victory I saw in her eyes. It was compassion, and somehow that hurt the most. The downfall didn't happen overnight. It came in quiet waves. One lost client, one ignored message, one door closing after another. Within a month, my fitness sponsorships were gone. Olivia stopped replying to my emails. Even my gym membership, my gym was suspended until further notice. When I called my parents hoping for comfort, my mother sighed through the phone. "Sophia, you've always been so intense. Maybe this is life's way of humbling you." She meant well, but it still cut deep. To her, my pain was a lesson. To me, it was a slow collapse. Friends who once cheered my achievements now avoided me. Every time I entered a cafe or scrolled through social media, I saw the same comments under my name. "She used to inspire me." Guess fame got to her head. The internet had already moved on, but my world hadn't. One rainy afternoon, I wandered through Evergreen Market, hood up, hoping not to be recognized. I was standing in the produce aisle, debating between apples and oranges. A meaningless decision, but it felt like control, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Sophia." I froze. That calm, unmistakable tone. Turning slowly, I saw Ava Mitchell, holding a shopping basket, dressed simply in jeans and a gray sweater. No camera, no audience, no fight. Just her. "Here to record another round?" I said bitterly. She shook her head. "No, I didn't come here to win anything." I crossed my arms, defensive. "Then what do you want?" She studied me for a moment, not with judgment but with quiet understanding. "I want you to stop." Her words hit harder than any punch. "Stop what?" I asked, though I already knew. "Stop fighting ghosts," she said softly. "You've been fighting me, the internet, everyone. But the only person standing in your way is you." I wanted to argue, to throw another wall of pride between us. But I couldn't. My throat tightened. In her eyes, I didn't see pity. I saw truth. She continued, "You're not weak because you fell, Sophia. You're lost because you won't admit why you fell." I stood there speechless, surrounded by the quiet hum of the store and the sound of rain tapping against the glass. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, I felt exhaustion. All this time, I had been trying to reclaim something I never truly had. Respect built on fear, not integrity. I thought I lost to Ava, but the truth was simpler, sharper. I had lost to myself. As she turned to leave, she said one last thing. When you stop seeing everyone as an opponent, maybe you'll start seeing who you really are. I stood frozen among the fruit displays, her words echoing in my mind long after she was gone. For the first time in months, the noise inside me began to quiet, not from defeat but from understanding. After that rainy afternoon at Evergreen Market, I felt like a different person, or at least, the version of me I had been hiding beneath all the arrogance and pride was finally trying to surface. The humiliation, the viral videos, the loss of my career and friends, it all had stripped me down to something raw, vulnerable, and undeniably human. I realized I couldn't keep trying to rebuild the old Sophia. That person had been built on false foundations, on ego and fear, on comparisons and competition. I needed something new, something real. That's how I ended up at Serenity Flow Yoga Studio, a small sunlit space tucked into a quiet Miami neighborhood. The walls were painted in muted earth tones, soft sunlight poured through large windows, and the faint scent of sandalwood and jasmine hung in the air. The world felt entirely different here, slower, calmer, gentler. I was nervous at first. Every inch of my body had been trained to dominate, to control, to push forward. And now I was stepping into a space that asked me to do the opposite, to breathe, to release, to be still. The instructor, Lily Nguyen, noticed me immediately. She had an aura of patience, a quiet strength that drew people in without any effort. Lily was 25, with short black hair tucked behind her ears, warm brown eyes, and a smile that seemed to say, "You're safe here." She welcomed me softly, explaining the philosophy behind yoga, that true strength comes from balance, self-awareness, and compassion, not from overpowering others. During the first session, I felt every ounce of tension in my body. My muscles screamed to fight, to resist, to prove something. But Lily's voice guided me through each pose, each breath, each moment of stillness. She corrected my form gently, never impatiently, never judgmentally. "Strength without control is chaos," she said. And for the first time, the words landed inside me, piercing through layers of shame and denial. Over the next few weeks, I became a regular. I discovered that yoga wasn't about being the best. It wasn't about competing or showing off. It was about learning to listen to yourself, to honor your body, your mind, your emotions. Lily became more than an instructor. She became a mentor, a mirror reflecting the best version of myself I had long ignored. One day after class, as we sat in meditation, I shared the story of Ava, the bar, the viral videos. Lily listened without interruption, then said, "Sophia, the thing you were missing all along wasn't strength or skill. It was humility and self-respect. And the only way to find it is to let go of resentment." Her words hit hard. I realized I had spent months obsessing over Ava, trying to prove I was better, when in reality all I was proving was how fragile and insecure I had been. That night, I sat at my laptop and typed an email to Ava. I hesitated with each word, feeling exposed, but I knew it was the right thing to do. "Dear Ava, I'm writing to apologize for my behavior that night at Sunset Lounge and afterward. I was arrogant, cruel, and entirely disrespectful. You didn't deserve any of it. I can't undo what happened, but I want you to know that I am sincerely sorry. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like, and for reminding me how far I have to go. Sincerely, Sophia Bennett." The reply came the next day, short but powerful. "You can fix it." Those 4 words were a lifeline. They weren't scolding, they weren't mocking, they were permission. Permission to change, permission to grow, permission to rebuild myself with integrity. I decided to take that permission further. I opened a YouTube channel, not to showcase my body or my skill, but to share my journey. I told the story honestly, the arrogance, the fall, the viral videos, the humiliation. I shared my lessons in humility, respect, and self-awareness. I documented my yoga practice, the conversations with Lily, and the slow, sometimes painful process of learning to measure strength not by dominance, but by balance and compassion. For the first time, I felt purpose beyond recognition or admiration. I found joy in connecting with people who had experienced similar struggles, who had faced their own moments of arrogance, shame, or loss. Comments poured in. "Thank you for being real. Your story inspired me to apologize to someone I hurt. I needed to hear this today." Each message was a reminder that transformation wasn't about winning or losing. It was about becoming someone worth respecting, starting with yourself. I still think about Ava sometimes, not with resentment but with gratitude. She was the mirror I needed, the challenge I didn't realize would change everything. And through Lily, through yoga, and through sharing my story with others, I began to understand that strength isn't a show of force. It's the courage to face yourself, admit your mistakes, and rebuild from the ground up. Looking back, I can see how far I've come. I am not perfect and I still stumble, but I stumble with awareness, not arrogance. I have learned that respect, humility, and compassion are far more powerful than any physical skill, any social dominance, any fleeting spotlight. And for the first time, I feel truly deeply untouchable, not because I am superior, but because I am whole. Looking back on everything that happened, the bar, the videos, the humiliation, the fall, and finally the slow climb back, I realized that the story isn't about Ava Mitchell or even about the public shame I endured. It's about me. It's about how arrogance blinds you, how pride can twist your perception of strength, and how humility, though difficult, can rebuild a life more solid than any muscle or social status ever could. The first lesson I learned is simple but profound. Respect is true strength. I spent so many years believing that power came from being loud, dominating, and drawing attention. I thought a confident posture, a sharp tongue, and a perfectly sculpted body were enough to command influence. But real strength isn't something you showcase. It's something you embody quietly. Ava never needed to shout, never needed to prove anything. Her calm, measured actions, grounded in skill and principle, held a power far greater than my arrogance could ever muster. True strength lifts others, doesn't tear them down. Second, actions have consequences. That one careless shove at Sunset Lounge led to a chain of events I never could have imagined. A few seconds of ego-driven behavior turned into a public spectacle, ruined professional relationships, and left me isolated. The lesson is clear. Even small decisions, when guided by pride or cruelty, can ripple outward in ways you can't control. Every action matters, and every moment of thoughtlessness carries weight. The third lesson is equally important. Owning your mistakes restores dignity. Apologizing to Ava was terrifying, but it was also liberating. Writing that email stripped away layers of fear, shame, and ego. Admitting I had been wrong didn't make me weak, it made me human. Owning your mistakes is not just about saying I'm sorry. It's about accepting responsibility and allowing that accountability to guide the path forward. Fourth, community shapes your growth. The people around you can either elevate or diminish you. Ethan distanced himself because he didn't want to face the consequences with me. Friends faded because they preferred comfort over confrontation. And yet, Lily and the yoga community welcomed me without judgment, giving me the support and guidance I desperately needed. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, nurture you, and encourage reflection can accelerate growth in ways isolation never can. Finally, change begins within. I can't change the videos that were posted, the humiliation I endured, or the prideful actions I took. I can only change how I respond, how I learn, and how I rebuild. True transformation doesn't start with external victories. It starts with introspection, acceptance, and the courage to grow into someone better than yesterday. I used to think strength meant dominance, winning, being feared. But now I know it's something entirely different. Strength isn't measured by the size of your muscles, the volume of your voice, or the fear you inspire. Strength is grace. Strength is humility. Strength is rising after failure, with awareness, respect, and compassion guiding every step forward. I thought strength meant dominance. Now I know it means grace. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that the lessons I've learned aren't just for me. They're for anyone who's ever let pride cloud their judgment, anyone who's ever thought that being strong meant overpowering others, and anyone who's ever faced the consequences of arrogance. Sharing these lessons isn't about boasting about how far I've come. It's about offering insight, hope, and a gentle reminder that transformation is always possible. The first lesson I want to share is respect is true strength. I spent years equating confidence with superiority. I thought that by looking fierce, speaking sharply, or intimidating others, I could establish control. But real strength is quiet, grounded, and steady. Respecting others, their skills, their boundaries, their dignity, doesn't make you weak. It makes you formidable in a way that lasts far beyond the fleeting attention of a crowd. Ava's calm, deliberate actions taught me that strength is not in taking down someone else, but in holding yourself accountable and honoring those around you. The second lesson is actions have consequences. That one impulsive night at Sunset Lounge set off a chain reaction I could never have anticipated. The viral videos, the public embarrassment, the loss of trust from friends and colleagues. It all stemmed from a single act driven by arrogance. It's easy to dismiss small missteps as harmless, but even minor actions, especially when fueled by ego, can reverberate in ways that affect careers, relationships, and self-perception. Understanding the weight of your choices is the first step toward truly mindful living. Third, owning your mistakes restores dignity. Apologizing to Ava was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Writing that email, admitting the truth of my behavior, and sending it without expecting anything in return stripped away layers of shame and pride. Owning your mistakes doesn't erase them, but it reclaims your integrity. Acknowledging fault is not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of maturity. By facing what I had done, I reclaimed the part of myself that arrogance had clouded, the part capable of honesty, growth, and genuine connection. Fourth, community shapes your growth. In the aftermath of my fall, I was isolated. Ethan left, friends drifted, and I felt as though no one believed in me. But then I found support in unexpected places. Lily and the yoga community. Their guidance, patience, and understanding helped me see that growth isn't a solitary journey. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage reflection, accountability, and self-compassion can transform struggle into opportunity. The right community doesn't just comfort you. It challenges you to be better and lifts you when your own confidence falters. Finally, change begins within. No matter how many viral videos exist, no matter the judgment of the world, the only power we truly hold is over ourselves. Change starts with introspection, humility, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about who we are and who we want to become. External circumstances might catalyze change, but it is the internal commitment to growth that sustains it. I learned that every step toward self-awareness, every small act of humility, every moment of grace, these are the true markers of transformation. If this story touched you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Every story we share reminds us that change begins with self-awareness, and that growth often comes through reflection, failure, and courage. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what was your moment of arrogance that taught you humility? Sharing your experiences can inspire someone else to take that first step toward change. Remember, the lessons Sophia learned aren't just hers. They're yours too, waiting to be discovered in your own life. Respect others, understand the consequences of your actions, own your mistakes, nurture your community, and start transformation from within. Life is full of moments that challenge us. How we respond defines the strength we truly possess. Every time you hit like, share this story, or subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel. You're choosing reflection over pride, humility over ego, and grace over dominance. Let's continue learning together. Let's grow together. Let's transform together. And remember, it all begins with the willingness to look inward and admit, I can do better. This is your reminder that humility is not weakness, mistakes are not failures, and every fall carries the seeds of a stronger, wiser self. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for taking that step toward your own journey of growth. The stories we share are more than entertainment. They're mirrors, guides, and calls to action. Let this one inspire the change you've been waiting for.